but it
Hello,
doesn't matter.
welcome. We're live now. It's nice
Oh,
to have you on board today. I'm so happy to be here. I'm here with my friend Jane Hogan, the wellness engineer, who is a specialist in chronic pain and is here today because it were two things. One is I want to talk about various elements that will help support a person in releasing pain, and two, because there's an exciting event coming up starting next Monday, a week from today. Or if you're watching this later, then you can get access to this event later. But starting next week for no cost is a Becoming Pain-Free Summit. And it's going to be very exciting because so many people suffer from chronic pain, as I
mm,
know many of you here are also suffering.
mm.
So welcome, Jane. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Shiroko, for having me. I'm really excited about being here and talking to you, and excited about the Becoming Pain-Free Summit that starts on the 18th of July. Finally, I get to share this with the world, and it is so needed. Like you said, so many people are suffering from chronic pain.
So needed, yes. And so I would love for you to tell a little bit of your story before we start, really talking about pain and how you got into being an expert on this subject.
We become an expert when a lot of times when we go through something ourselves, right? So
Mhm.
I was working as an engineer, living my life, doing my thing, just about up to the freedom years. I just turned 50, and I'd gone through this really stressful year in my life. My mother had died suddenly, and I had to deal with all of the her possessions and her house and the siblings and all those things, and so it was very, very stressful. And
Mhm.
coming out of that year, then I started to develop like this really bad pain that would start to
Mhm.
migrate around my body. Is like, and it would be really bad. My shoulder would hurt and my arm would have to go in a sling. And then the next day it would be the next shoulder, and my elbows and my hands and my wrists and my knees and my feet and my jaw. It was like all over the place. I felt like someone had a voodoo doll was sticking pins in. Um, it eventually was diagnosed as rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune condition, where we start attacking ourselves. That's what how they call it. They say it's the immune system attacking the body. And it's sort of like I see it now as like a rejection of self almost. But I started, so I was working as an engineer. I didn't really know what to do about this because I didn't have a diagnosis, and I was really lucky that I had a family doctor who suggested that food could play a role. And she said gluten and dairy were common triggers of joint pain, which I couldn't believe. But I was in so much pain. Like I really, within 3 months, I went from being healthy and strong to nearly disabled, barely able to walk, not able to make a fist with my hands, just really mm, at pretty much rock bottom point in my life. And
Mhm.
so I decided I would try this, and so I did, and I had like a significant reduction in pain in a few days. And I thought, okay, this is it. Food is medicine. Woo, okay. All I got to do is change my food and I'll be all right. And so I did. I changed a lot of food, learned about um, more about food. And then I learned, yeah, I just kept on doing all this research online. This, like, as an
Mhm.
engineer, I'm a problem solver. And so I would do all this, try these
Mhm.
different things, and I would chart and graph my results and how I was doing. And I just kept on getting further along my path. I learned about functional medicine. I thought, okay, I'm going to study functional medicine just to learn a bit more about it for myself. So the shortest course I could do was a functional medicine certified health coach, and I could do it all online while I was still working. So I did that, learned a whole lot more about mind body medicine, and I kept on, I'm still on a quest. And so maybe we can dive into some of that a little bit more, but that's what led me to want to help other people. Eventually, I left my engineering career because I thought, I just want people to know that they can be the ones that can reverse pain, whatever is going on in your body, we are the empowered ones in our health, and we are the ones that can heal ourselves. And I just wanted to shout this from the rooftops. And so I left my engineering career, became a health coach and a wellness educator, and that's what I'm doing now, and I absolutely love it.
Yes. And one of the things, I wrote a book at some point a few years ago and talked about healing when it seems impossible, which really when pain becomes
Mhm.
chronic seems impossible, right? And one of the things I talk about is this idea that even when we're struggling, sometimes it can be a gift. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
know that one of the things you talk about is also seeing pain as a gift.
Yeah.
Would you talk about that just a little bit more, please, and show people how that works?
Really, whenever we have problems in our life, whether it's physical pain or it's illness or an argument with someone, these are all circumstances
Mhm,
that are shining a light on us, where we need to do the work in our life. So really, pain is not a problem. Pain is really our body telling us there is a problem. And by the time it manifests as pain or illness in the physical body, we're sort of gone way beyond what the root cause of the problem is. That's just it's a symptom of a root cause problem, right?
mhm.
So I see it now as all of this was a big gift to awaken me to a better version of myself. I realized that I had had this stressful year, but I had had a lot of thoughts in my whole life going back to childhood where I I had feelings of never being good enough, which led to perfectionism, which led to people pleasing. And so I was going through my whole life with this underlying feeling, and it was so normal for me, I didn't even notice it, but this underlying feeling of not being good enough. And so, talk about rejection of self, right? An
Right.
autoimmune condition, rejecting self. Well, I was rejecting myself. So, I see now all of this as a gift to turn me on to this path and become a better version of myself, a version of myself that I love and that can love other people unconditionally, and just create a better person so that I could be a role model for my children and people around me. So I do see it as an absolute gift now. I'm so thankful that it happened. But our body will speak in a whisper, and then it'll become a yell until we can't ignore it anymore.
Right, right. Thank you so much for that. And another thing that you mentioned was thinking about our genetics as well, there's so many ways to think about our genetics, but a lot of
Yeah.
people, especially with things like rheumatoid arthritis or an autoimmune condition that can lead to pain, can think that their genetics are the cause of
Mm,
it. And,
yeah.
and you and I have both been trained to look at it differently. Do you want to talk about that just for a little minute?
Yeah.
Mhm,
Shiroko, that was really empowering for me when I
mhm,
realized all of this work in the science of epigenetics tells us now that our genes are responsible for less than 2% of permanent coding. So we may have like a tendency, our genes may have a tendency to lead us to certain illnesses, but
mhm,
it's more the environment. So all our genes are constantly, they're like dimmer switches that are turning on, turning off, or turning up or turning down in response to the environment. So the environment is within our control. So that's why I think it's so empowering. But the environment includes things like toxins that are in the environment, the air that we breathe, what we put on our skin, the food that we eat, but it's also our thoughts, and our mind really runs our body. So our thoughts are so powerful,
mhm,
hugely powerful. And so
Mhm.
So, all of this then means that we are not a victim of our genes. We can create an environment that allows our body to heal rather than be a victim of our genes. It's funny, but our thoughts and our beliefs that can lead to illness kind of get passed down in our families, right? And those
Right.
are more impactful than our genes. So, things run in families probably because thoughts and beliefs run in families. But we can always change our thoughts when we start to pay attention.
Thank you. Yes. And so, I would love to know just a little bit more about the whole summit and the different subjects of conversation. So, we talked a little bit about mindset as a possible connection to chronic pain, and
Mhm.
also about genetics as a possible connection to how maybe it'd be harder to heal. But what about other sorts of root causes? Like in my practice over the years, especially with things like rheumatoid arthritis, one of the root causes is infection. Is that one of the topics that you talk about? Is how infection can play a role, hidden infections that we
Yeah.
don't know about? Can you talk
Yeah,
about that?
so that infections kind of falls there's kind of 2 buckets really in terms of root causes. One is like stress, and that can be physical stress, emotional stress, mental stress. And the other one is toxins. So
Mhm,
infections fall into the bucket of toxins. So
mhm,
infections definitely are there, pathogens, things like that, that can
mhm,
cause can lead to different illnesses. Like I didn't know that there was an infection that very often rheumatoid arthritis is associated with infections. Um,
mhm,
but there are some of the other topics that are quite interesting. There's a whole day where we talk about energy and our bioenergetics and how our energy affects how our body responds, physical body responds. So even though we can have infections as a root cause, if our energy is flowing well in the body, then our body can resist those infections. So it's like there's a combination of things. We've got a combination of things, multiple contributors to that result in a chronic condition. So it's not usually just one, a one prong approach. We usually have to come at things multiple ways. But
mhm.
that's good because we've got a lot of different tools in the toolbox we can use, right?
Exactly, exactly. And am I on the energy day? Is Chinese medicine an
You
energy
are on
tool?
you are
Is it
on
on
a day where we're talking about, uh, there are many ways to heal. There are many
uh-huh.
ways to heal, right? So we've got people, beautiful Geraldine Glass, who does sound healing. She helps people heal through sound vibrations. So
Mhm,
it may not be new to your audience that we are energetic beings, but quantum
mhm,
science tells us we are energetic beings. Energy is vibration, it's vibration and information. So we are constantly responding to vibrations.
mhm,
So this beautiful, like crystal singing bowl music that Geraldine plays is a form of healing. These are very therapeutic vibrations, and our body responds to them even like it's through sound, right? So people hearing it will feel it. And then we've got people talking about emotional freedom technique or tapping.
mhm,
So we've got a lady that is leading us through a tapping exercise on how we can tap. It's sort of a combination of sort of traditional Chinese medicine, which you're talking about, and our meridian points, along with modern psychology, where we're using tapping on the meridian points to release emotion. So we feel the emotion, whatever it is that's bothering us, and we feel it, and we tap on these points, and it helps the body release it because the body hangs on to emotions if we don't release them, and that can result in physical pain and other things as well.
yeah. One of the things that I love about this event that you're putting on, and in case you hadn't guessed it, I am one of the speakers for those
Yeah.
of you watching. And but one of the things is the many different tools that we can use to help when we're struggling with a difficult health issue. And in this case, it's pain. But we want to give you access to all the different ways that you could heal. And that way, so that you can listen to this for free for from the week from July 18th until
The
whatever the
24th.
following is. It's a week, 5 days. But and there are many different tools. And if there is something, I always teach my clients that if there is something that you resonate with, so let's say it's doing something for yourself, like tapping, tapping certain points and repeating certain senses, or finding an infection that could be the root cause of the problem, or balancing your hormones, or managing stress. There's so many tools for
Mhm.
helping to release pain and to heal from pain. And sometimes, especially when you've had a difficult time, it's all of them. You do balancing your hormones, balancing your immune system, getting rid of infections, and working with emotions and healing and tapping in order to access that deeper healing. And I think that's what you were explaining when you had symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis, is that you used all of the tools available to you, right?
Mm. Not
Yeah.
all at once. And
Yeah.
I
Oh,
started with the food because that's the first thing I heard about. But
yeah.
what I know now is that probably number one thing to do is to start by lowering stress, and the fastest way to do that is with breath work. And that's what
Mhm.
one of the things that I teach. And so each day of the summit, so it runs for 7 days. Each day of the summit, I do a little breath work exercise every single day just to teach people how to relax using the breath. That's it's like the fastest way to calm the nervous system, and we cannot heal unless the nervous system is in a calm state. So, we can't even digest our food if the nervous system is not in a calm state. So even before like changing what you eat, change how you eat. Feel calm while you're eating, and you'll digest your food better, you'll absorb nutrients better. So I didn't know this stuff when I started, and that's part of what I wanted to do with this summit, is to give people like the stuff that I had to piece together over the years, have it all in one place so that their healing journey can be faster. They can start right away. But just calming yourself is probably the first thing to do. Everything else will work better when we feel calm.
Yes, it was so important. And when I first started meditating a few years ago, I remember just practicing breathing. And then as I started breathing more, I realized all of the times I wasn't breathing. Even in this conversation, just remembering to breathe. And I
Yeah.
don't know if other people have tried this, and I'm sure you have, but one of the things I noticed was that if I take a big deep breath and I let it out, it's really hard to hold on to pain. It's really hard to hold on to other tensions in your body if you're breathing. But
Mhm.
we always talk about breathing as something that's so natural and that we kind of do unconsciously. But honestly, if you really pay attention, we hardly ever breathe. Like just now in this whole range of sentences, I've taken 2 breaths. So,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah.
Yes. And the other great thing about when you start to like notice your breathing is you get out of those thoughts of
Mhm.
ruminating over the past or worrying about the future. So it really
Mhm.
brings you into this moment where really we're safe. Most of us are not in a life threatening situation, you know, probably ever or very seldom.
Mhm.
But we're in a constant state of stress because these thoughts that we have, ruminating over the past, worrying about the future, put us in a stress state. And we were designed to respond to stress in this way where our breathing gets more quick, or we hold our breath, right? Fight, flight, or freeze.
Mhm. Mhm.
um, but we're not meant to be in that state all the time, but most of us are. So if we can get back into the calm state, which we can when we start to even just to notice your breath, even if it's just like feeling the breath going in through the nose and out through the nose, or counting slowly. It just brings us into this moment. I know like meditation is beautiful, but a lot of people, if you say meditate, they're just like, I can't meditate. But if you can say, we're breathing, right? We are all breathing and we've always got it with us. So if we can say, let's just take a breath.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Thank you so much for coming here today. Is there any additional information you want to share with my audience or with the people that are listening? Anything you want to, any tips you'd like to give?
Yeah, well, I just like to say that, we've got 65% of people over the age of 65 suffer from chronic pain. 25% of the population suffers from chronic pain. So if you don't experience chronic pain, chances are pretty high that you know someone that does. And what they learn on the summit could change their life. I know that summits changed my life, and it's just so amazing that you can get people that their years and years of experience condensed down into 30, 40 minutes. You can learn the nuggets that they got to share with you in that period of time. So it's an amazing opportunity, free to watch, July 18th to the 24th. And there's also some gifts there when you sign up. There's 3 talks available right away. But there's also, I've written a book called Pain Free by Design that you can download for free. And there's some other great resources. So there's lots there for you. It's amazing that these summits are free, but this one I know is life-changing for people. So I really thank you, Shiroko, for being a guest on it, sharing your wisdom, and you've done a really nice little experience for the audience. And I really appreciate being able to talk to your audience here today too.
Thank you so much for being here. And I'm super excited to share this event with everybody, because you're right. So many people suffer from pain. And even if it's only 3 weeks of pain because you sprained your ankle, or who calls it only, physical traumas actually leave an imprint in your body. And so they may stay there, and at some other point in the future, you'd have pain because of it. So go and watch this event and learn about how to be free of pain. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Shiroko.
Have a great day.